183 a little later than normal.
Yay.
And if I want to finish the topic that we started, but we got stuck in the middle here. If you have your copies, I only made 14. If you have your copies, take a look at the first page. It's 59.
It's supposed to be on the
59A3, first page. Okay, it's a very famous story with an oven story, which created a whole big dispute, dialogue amongst the rabbis, whether this earthenware oven is ritually impure or whether it's not. The reason why the Gemara is discussing this whole topic of an earthenware oven and the rabbis arguing, as you'll see, it has to do with what happened at the end of the story where a rabbi gets very strongly criticized and hurt. And as a result, another rabbi lost his life. Powerful story, and it's a very famous Gemara. So anytime you're meeting a cousin on a date, ask him if he knows about the story of Tanur Shalach Noi, the oven that was called the oven of the python serpent, meaning that questions were asked about this oven to the extent that it appeared like a python snake. It's not venomous, but it surrounds, chokes its victim by coiling around. Rabbi Eliezer, who's the story over here, was bombarded with questions on his view about this oven, and therefore the oven got a name. The oven that represents or that reminds us of a serpent that coils around its victim. So here's the story. It quotes a Mishnah, and it's on the bottom of 59A3, the first page. Right-hand side, you have following Mishnah alludes to an incident in which a Tana was offended. After quoting the Mishnah, the Gemara relates the incident and how quickly his prayers were answered. It's going to take a while, so I'm going to have to keep you here a little bit later. And I never do this. It's the last class. So last but not least, we'll have to learn a little bit more. Tanan Hasa, we have learned there in the Mishnah. Chatacho chuliot. Okay. Normally an oven in those days was like a gigantic pot. It was portable, then it was attached to the ground. And that oven, earthenware, is susceptible to impurity. And it can never be toibled. You can't toible an earthenware keli, just like you can't kasher earthenware. You also can't toible it, immerse it in a mikvah to make it pure again. It's not subject to that level of purity, so if it breaks, if it becomes impure, nothing you can do with it. It has to be discarded. So here we have a story of an abnormal looking earthenware pot or oven. This oven was not one piece, one chunk of earthenware, but rather it was a bunch of sections. And these sections were cemented together with sand. Cement is not subject to any kind of impurity. The question was, but the sections of the earthenware that was baked, they used to bake it, to make it hard, that is subject to impurity. We go after the sections, the structure of the vessel, or do we go after what's holding it together? So Rabbi Eliezer was only the opinion of only one opinion. He said that you go after the cement that's holding it together, and being that the sand cement is not susceptible to tumah, to impurity, the entire oven remains pure. And all the rabbis disagree with him. So here is the Mishnah. Chatacho chuliot. If someone cuts sections for an oven, v'natan chol bein chulya l'chulya, and he put sand between the sections to cement them together, to hold them together. Do we follow the cement, which is not subject to tumah, to impurity, or do we follow the majority of the structure of the oven? And the oven came into contact with tumah. So now the question is that oven, let's say a rodent enter that, if that rodent was found in the oven, does that oven now become impure or not? Rabbi Eliezer, the famous Rabbi Eliezer, but Hyrcanus, his name was, mitaher. But all the other rabbis, mitamen, they said that it's tamei. Gemara continues on the next page. This oven got the name the coiled serpent. Why is it called the coiled serpent? First of all, the Gemara wants to know, what does achnai mean? That word was not familiar even by the sages. You know, a nachash is a snake. What does the word achnai mean? My achnai. Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel, Shehikifu dvarim ka'achna zu b'timuhu. It means that the sages, surrounded the oven, meaning surrounded the view of Rabbi Eliezer about this oven with discussions like this coiled snake that coils around its victim, and then declared it susceptible to tumah. They brought all kinds of proofs that he's wrong, and they viewed that it's coming. Can't do anything with this oven. Tana, what happened? A brisa was taught, which is a supplement to a Mishnah, but also Yom, on that day, Rabbi Eliezer called Tshuva Shabbat. On that day, Rabbi Eliezer advanced all the arguments in the world to defend his lenient ruling. They did not accept it. He really had strong arguments, and he felt that they're just embarrassed to retract. It was very compelling and convincing. So he was the minority opinion, yeah.
But if he had such strong and compelling arguments, why didn't they change their mind if they were like
They
good
still felt
arguments?
it was compelling to him, not to them. So he really felt that his arguments were very compelling, and he brought all kinds of proofs. They still argue with him. And we have a rule, you always follow the majority. We'll soon see. We'll soon see God also intervene over here. And we didn't listen to him. The story is a phenomenal story, and it's well known. So any chassan who never heard about the story, you got to check out. Maybe he's not the chassan for you. A very, very well-known Gemara. Here, below Kiblu, the sages did not accept his argument. Amar lahem, Rabbi Eliezer said to them, wait, I'll prove to you that I'm right. Not by logic, but watch me do something. I will make a miracle, and that will be proof that God is saying Rabbi Eliezer is right. What was the miracle he made? He said, if the halacha accords with me, you see this carrot tree outside, which the people you happen to use for food, let this carrot tree prove it. And what did he cause? Nerkar charuv mimkomo meya amo. Whereupon the carrot tree was uprooted from its place 100 amos, which is quite a distance, about close to 200 feet. The Amri law, and some say, was 400 amos, which is close to 800 feet. Amrulo, so they said to him, nice, I know you can make miracles, you're a very holy man, but you can't bring proofs from a carrot tree. Aim b'vin rayim in hakaruv. Some say he wanted to bring a proof from a charuv. Charuv is a carrot tree, but it sounds like churban, destruction. So he was saying to them, you see, you're destroying this keli, you're destroying this vessel for no reason. Watch this charuv, which sounds like churban, which means destruction, be uprooted. Uproot your view about destroying the keli. That's why he picked on the word on the word charuv, which sounds like churban. So he said, no. Amrulo, ein mivin rayim and acharuv. You cannot bring a proof from a carrot tree. You know why? You're the destroyer. You're destroying the halacha. There's a rule that we always follow the majority. That rule is a very important rule. Otherwise, Torah, you could have Jews doing different things. We have to have a rule that whenever there's a majority, no matter how strong you think your opinion is, you lose. You are breaking that. You are making a churban. You're destroying the whole system of halacha. So you're the destroyer. You might claim that we're destroying the keli, you're destroying halacha. And therefore, on the contrary, if that charuv happened to move, if that churban happened to be uprooted, it means uproot your opinion. Then he said, okay, amas hamayim yechichu. Let the water canal, they had a water canal right outside the yeshiva, the base medrash. Let that water canal, water usually goes downward, let it go upward. And so the chazru amas hamayim lachoreim, the water in the water canal flowed backward. I guess he was trying to tell them, Torah is water, and your views are backwards. In other words, retract. I know it doesn't seem right for someone, for the majority opinion to back off of their opinion, but just like the water just backs off against its own nature, you should do so as well. Or sometimes we could say water symbolizes bittul. Says in Chassidus, you're lacking bittul. Just because you're the majority doesn't mean, that you're God's gift to humanity. You have to understand that if what I'm saying is compelling, you got to listen to me. Anyways, they didn't accept that either. You can't bring any proof from water canal because I could say the opposite is you're the one who's going backwards. You're the one who's not doing what's right. Now, some say the story never really happened. And it's only a metaphor. Charu, a carrot tree, is the name of a rabbi who was Chanina ben Dosa. Chanina ben Dosa was known to support himself with carobs. It's only ate a whole week, from Erev Shabbos to Erev Shabbos. The whole world, his chus was sustained, and yet he had nothing to eat, and he was happy about it. Let the whole world have all their needs. I can live on a charuv. So what Rabbi Lezer meant, let the Rabbi Chanina, who only ate fruits from a carrot tree, let him come. And I bet you he will agree with me. And he did. And they still said, I'm sorry, so you're two people now, not enough. So he said, let's bring a raya, a proof from the Amas Hamayim. Amas Hamayim is a canal of water. There's a rabbi who's compared to water. He was called a wellspring that never dries. His mind was endless. He kept on and he never forgot what he learned either. This rabbi, Mayin HaMizgaber, let him come. He also came and he said, Rabbi Eliezer is right. So that's three people, but they were hundreds. And they argued, yes.
Who was this rabbi with who was like the water?
His name was Elazar, yeah. First one was Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, the second one was Rabbi Elazar. Others say, and I think this was a dream. This whole thing happened in a dream. It didn't happen in real life. Whatever. The different views of if the story actually happened or not. But it seems like from the Gemara that the actual story did happen, as we'll soon see. Chazav Amalahem, Im halacha kamaisi, the halacha accords with me, let the walls of the Beis Medrash start shaking and moving. Let the walls of the study hall prove it. What happened? Hitu koisle Beis HaMedrash lipol. The walls of the study hall leaned and were about to fall. Now that's going to cause a damage to the hallway to the Beis HaMedrash. That Rabbi Yeshua, he was one of the main those who argued with Rabbi Eliezer. Gar b'hem Rabbi Yeshua. Immediately Rabbi Yeshua rebuked the walls, and he said, if Torah scholars vie with one another in discussions about halacha, what are you mixing in? What business is it of yours? So what happened was, again, what was the proof of the walls falling? Rabbi Eliezer was trying to say, you're causing destruction. Look at these walls. You're causing destruction. Why are you destroying the keli needlessly? He was saying just the opposite, that the walls that are falling, yes, symbolize that what you're doing. You're destroying halacha. Anyway, what the Gemara continues on and says that he told the walls, what business is of yours to mix in? Loy naflu, the walls did not fall out of respect for Rabbi Yeshua. They did not stand upright again. They remained in a slant, leaning position out of respect for Rabbi Eliezer. Until today, these walls are not straight. They still continue to lean to this day, which tells us this story was a real story. Then he said, okay, if that's not convincing, I will prove to you that I am right. And I will say the following. If there's a halacha that accords with me, let there be a proof from heaven that I am right. Yata Baskoil, a heavenly echo. A Baskoil is not exactly a prophecy, but it's an echo. Echo from another sound coming from on high. Went forth and proclaimed, Ma lachem etzol Rabbi Eliezer. What argument do you have with Rabbi Eliezer? Why are you arguing? Shehalacha kamosa b'chol makom. When the halacha accords with him in all places, don't even argue with him. He's right. Amad Rabbi Yeshua al Ragla. Upon hearing this, Rabbi Yeshua stood on his feet and he said, I'm sorry, Baskol. Lo b'shamayim. The Torah was given to us, not in heaven. You lose. And so it was. Ein onu mashgichim bebaskol. Sorry. The Torah was given to Har Sinai and was given to us. It's our Torah. In other words, the famous Dayenu, we always say Dayenu, if God would have had us stand by the mountain and would not have given us the Torah, it would have been enough. How is that possible? Not to have the Torah at all. Here's the answer. God didn't just give us the Torah, he gave us the authority to rule against him. Wow. One thing is to share with us his Torah, But who are we to argue with him once we find out what his views are? Here we have what the Gemara is saying that Torah became ours. Man Matan Torah was saying new. It's our Torah. And if we understand, based on the rules that he laid out for us, if we come to a different verdict than God himself, God can't intervene. So you could ask the obvious question. So why did he intervene? Hashem knows the rule that we follow the majority, so why did he intervene? Why did God make all these miracles happen? Especially the last miracle that he acted about. Heaven came and said that Rabbi Eliezer is right. God knows the rule you follow the majority. So one of the answers, a very beautiful answer, is to establish. Hashem knew very well that the rabbis will stand their ground. He wanted to show that you could be as great as Rabbi Eliezer. Don't think you're greater than him. And you can prove from Shemayim, prove from God himself that you're right, and the halacha will not accord with you. For all generations to come, don't think you're smarter and you have proofs. Here's, look at the story over here. So Hashem made all these miracles to prove this point. What happened? Those days, Eliyahu Navi was frequently visited. Let me finish the next line before that. We do not pay attention to a heavenly echo. But you have written in your Torah, follow the majority. Rav Nosson met Eliyahu. He said to him, what was God doing when he lost that verdict? When Rabbi Shua said we don't follow God, Torah is not in heaven anymore. What was the Holy One, blessed be he, doing at that moment when Rabbi Shua rejected the heavenly signal? He was smiling and chuckling. He was smiling. He had a laugh, and he said, "Natschuni, banai, natschuni. My children have prevailed over me. My children have prevailed over me." He said it twice. The Rebbe in Amaimer explains he used the word banai, my children, to say ultimately, even if God says one thing, that's God, a godly version. But then there's a higher level of God, which always will accord with what people say down here. And it's just like a child. You find that sometimes children are greater than their parents. It says, sometimes that a child can be greater than his father. But how could that be? The child is derived from his father. How could what's derived, the derivative, be greater than the source? The answer is that many fathers and mothers have potential that they never explored. So they are much greater than they really think they are. The essence of the father is a lot greater than the father or mother happen to, exhaust in time. The child sometimes can nurse from the essence of the parents and get more than the parents ever knew about themselves. The same thing is true with God. Bana, you're my children, and you are derived, you are higher than the madrega of Kuchabrichu. Kuchabrichu is on a certain level of godliness, but it's not God's essence. Because you are my children, you have touched the essence of God, which transcends even God's view in heaven, beyond heaven also. Whatever says that in the Mimer. Now let's see what happened over here. On that day, right in front of Rabbi Eliezer, Heviyu kol taharos. A number of drastic developments followed the debate. And this is what happened. They said on that day, the sages collected all the things Rabbi Eliezer had declared tahor, because as a result, this oven was used. He allowed it to be used. And there was holy items that were used in this oven. These holy items are now really, according to the sages, tamei, impure. What do you have to do with holy things that become impure? You have to burn them. So he had all the truma and all this holy stuff, he had it all burnt in front of Rabbi Eliezer. They had it all burned to show we mean business over here. And you are wrong. The oven is tamei, and everything that was in that oven also has to be, burnt and removed. And burn them in his next presence, in his presence, which is on the next page, 59b2. The nimnu olo, they voted on him and excommunicated him for having the audacity to argue with the majority. Despite of his compelling, what he thought he was compelling, despite of all the miracles he made, he was put into an excommunication, which means he was not allowed to come to the next medicine anymore. He had to sit like a mourner and rent his clothing. Now, he wasn't aware of this. He was not aware of the fact that they excommunicated him. Look what happened over here. Here's the story. Amalahan Amru, and they said, who's going to tell him? I mean, we're scared of this guy. Who is going to tell him that we actually excommunicated him? We put him into a cherib or a nidui, which means that he's off limits. He can't be counted in a minyan, can't come to shul, we can't learn from him anything. Who's going to do that? Who has the strength to be able to talk with him and not afraid of what he can do? Because a great tzaddik, when you antagonize a great tzaddik, a lot of terrible things can happen, as we'll soon see. So Rabbi Akiva says, I can handle it. Amalem Rabbi Akiva, Ani Elef, I will go. So I'm concerned if someone else goes, who knows what can happen to that person. Shema Yelech Adam Sheina Hagam, perhaps someone who's not proper will go and inform him, and V'nimsa Machrev Es Kol Ha'olam Kulei. He will bring about destruction of the entire world. He will cause havoc in the world with his power that the tzaddik has. Me also Rabbi Akiva, what did Rabbi Akiva do? He put on black clothing. He dressed himself in black, like a mourner, clothed himself in black. Not like all rabbis go around in black. This is a special kind of, not like a fucker, you know. I know it's also black, but not that kind of black. But a mourner's type of clothing. And he sat at a distance. You can't sit within his 4 cubits. You don't want to sit. A person who is excommunicated, you gotta stay away from him. 4 cubits. And he sat very far from him. And he could catch the hint, something's wrong. Now, he didn't say a word to him, he just said, he put on mourner's clothing and he stood far from him. So, of course, he was curious, what's going on over here? Lava Shchorim and Esativ Shchorim, he dressed in black and clothed in black, and he stood or sat before Rabbi Eliezer at a distance of 4 amos. And Rabbi Eliezer knows the rules. Rabbi Eliezer, Akiva, why is today different? Why are you acting different than you normally act? Why are you sitting so far away from me today? Amalei, Rabbi Akiva replied, Rebbe, my dear Rebbe, Kimedumale, it seems to me that your colleagues are removed from you. It's a euphemism. It's a nice way of saying you're removed from them. It seems like your colleagues are removed from you. More of a respectful way to speak to his teacher. When he heard that, say that your colleagues are bedalim, are removed, separating themselves from you. So when he heard that, he understood right away. Afu kara begadov, he rent his clothing, he tore his clothes, tore his garments, and removed his shoes like a bubble. V'nishmat v'yashva gabe karka, and he slid off his chair and sat on the ground. Zolgu ein of demoas, his tears flowed from his eyes. Laka ha'olam, the world suffered. Shlish b'zeisim, 1/3 of the produce of olives, 1/3 of the wheat, and 1/3 of all the barley went ruined. Yesh omrim, av botzeg shebidei isha tapa, even dough already in a woman's hands became spoiled as she was about to bake. Tana.
11:43.
Maybe we'll finish. I'll be more. Tana. Ach means usually however or but. Ach here means oy, like a terrible plague. Ach godol, a great blow occurred on that day. So b'kol makom shenosam bo einav Rabbi Eliezer nisra. Every place on which Rabbi Eliezer set his eyes went up in flames. At the bottom, he explains this idea of the tzaddik's eyes, what damage can happen. And I'll bring you a story in a minute from a different sefta. The story goes with Rav Shefetz, who was blind, a blind rabbi, who was sitting amongst people who were talking about the king. There's going to be a king passing by with all his entourage and troops, soldiers passing by the city. Everyone's going to greet him. It's a mitzvah to greet a king, even a non-Jewish king. And Rav Shefetz was blind, but he was also going to go along. So one Sadducee, a Suki, who doesn't believe in the oral Torah, doesn't believe in souls, afterlife, laughingly says to Rabbi Eliezer the following words: Chat bi lenahara kagni laya. Pitchers that are whole, you go to the river to draw water. Broken pitchers, what happens to broken pitchers? You throw them away. You're a broken pitcher. You can't see the king, so why are you going? So he says, I bet you I can see I know where the king is better than you do, faster than you do. As the troops were passing by, one troop passed, and there was a tremendous sound of noise that passed by. And this Sadducee says, oh, the king is coming. And Rav Shefetz says, he's not coming. That's not him. Second troop, And then the guy said, the Sadducee said, oh, now he's coming. Sorry, you're wrong again. And the third time, you're wrong again. Finally, when it got quiet, there is where the king is coming. And he was right. So the Sadducee asked, how did you know? He said, you're blind. How did you know? He said, because the kingdom, that the royalty, royal kingship down here reflects God as well. In Shemayim, the famous story in Tanakh with Eliyahu Navi, when there was a tremendous passing of a wind, a hurricane wind blowing, and felt like it was the Shekhinah passing by. So, lo baruach Hashem. The ruach is very powerful. It's not the Eibush. It's maybe some of his malachim making this happen. And then there was a tremendous earthquake sound. Lo barash Hashem. Then again, a fire. Lo be'esh Hashem. Then suddenly it was quiet. There is Hashem. Our davening also corresponds to that. Suki de Zimra is ruach. The bracha before Shema, talk about the malachim. That's Rash. V'chalfanim b'Rash gadol. Shema is H. And Shemon Esrei is Shah still. Like that's when you're speaking to God Himself. Shemon Esrei, 4 parts of the davening. So Rabbi Sheshes said, because I knew that a king down here reflects the king up there. That's how I knew. Anyways, when he saw the king, he made the bracha. So the guy said, "You're making a bracha? That's a bracha in vain." He didn't like that, Rabbi Sheshes. He was sick of this guy already. And he looked at him, stared at him. And I want to tell you, when the tzaddik stares at you, you better watch out. And what happened is the guy died. And not only did he die a terrible death, but his body decomposed in moments. Instead of taking months for a body to decompose, it became bones. All his skin, his flesh and everything else of him all decomposed, and all that was left of him immediately was just bones. Now, there is my song, I just want to share with you something. I know I'm going to keep you a little later. A personal story. I remember it was an Indian guru. I think it was an Indian. He was Jewish. His grandmother was Jewish. He was a guru of some kind of cult. And he had eyes that scared the daylight out of anybody. He stared at you and he whoa. So we decided we're going to bring him to the Rebbe. We will let the Rebbe look at him. For Mincha, it's a Mincha. I'll never forget this experience. It was a Mincha. The Rebbe davens upstairs. I used to stand as close to the Rebbe as I am to you. You're the Rebbe. And I'm here. I'm standing. And the Rebbe is upstairs. We're all Rebbes. Every one of us has a piece of Rebbe in us. We all have Moshe Rabbeinu's in us. We all have Rebbes. So I'm looking at the kid. I couldn't take my eyes off. That wasn't me looking at the sitter. This guy in that small room upstairs, and he's looking, staring. His eyes are scary, bulging out of his eyes like that, looking at the Rebbe, watching him move. Suddenly the Rebbe turned around. The Rebbe's eyes met with him. And the guy went, whoa. He went, whoa. And he didn't feel good afterwards. He felt sick. He said, I've never had any experience like that in my life. Usually I do that to people. And that look just penetrated into my soul. Anyways, it affected him in a Jewish way. And it became more, I think he left the cult and started practicing, I put on phone with him and started practicing a lot of mitzvahs.
Rabbi, there is people that met the Rebbe like this and it didn't affect them, like didn't change their life.
Are there any people that the Rebbe saw and their lives didn't change?
Do you know any? Do you know any?
How do I know if their lives have changed or not? I don't know what's going on in a person's life.
I mean,
You never know.
It's life change.
I know what's going on in my life, but I don't know what's going on in your life. Ein Adam Yodea Mash V'Lev Shel Chaveiro. Unless you have some kind of.
It's not like
The Rebbe, it's his heart too.
I want to finish the story here. I gotta finish it, please. Tana. I'm sorry. On the bottom of the right, a left-hand column on the bottom. Let me finish this. It happened. Rabbi Gamliel, the Nasi, was coming in a boat, and a gale threatened. A gale, meaning a very strong wind, threatened to drown him. Amar, he said, and Rabbi Gamliel was the one in charge of this chayrim. He is the one that excommunicated Rabbi Eliezer. Guess who he was? Brother-in-law. They were brother-in-laws. In other words, Rabbi Eliezer's wife was Rabbi Gamliel's sister. So Rabbi Gamliel was he was the one in charge of this excommunication. He felt it must be because Rabbi Eliezer is angry at me and it's causing me to drown. Kimadumali, it seems to me that this is only because of Rabbi Eliezer's benhurkiness. That's why it's happening. Amalo Raglo, he stood on his feet on the boat and he said, God, it is well known to you, I didn't do it for my honor. Lo, that I did not do this to order his excommunication for my own honor, and not for the honor of my father's household, but rather for your honor, so that disputes not proliferate in Israel. Nacha hayom mizapo, whereupon the sea subsided and God heard his prayer. One more story. Ema Shalom. Ima Shalom, her name was. The wife of Rabbi Eliezer's name was Ima Shalom. Achte Rabbi Gamliel Hagoy. She was a sister of Rabbi Gamliel. And she was very worried about her brother. She knew how her husband was angry at him and very, not bothered, very frustrated about what happened, this whole excommunication, and he had his eyes set on him. From that incident in which Rabbi Gamliel excommunicated Rabbi Eliezer onwards, here's what she did. There's a tachnun that's recited after Shemon Esrei. Now, Rabbi Eliezer did not just say tachnun, which is Hashem Bagadnu. He actually went and covered his face and went on the floor. And when a person does that, if you're a tzaddik, that's when your prayers are answered, especially if it's a person who was verbally harassed, as he was. And he was crying, he would be crying during that would be the tefillah he would be crying most. It's right after Shemon Esrei. Now, she knew that the only time the tachnun has effect, if it's said right after Shemon Esrei with no hefsek. This is the reason why Al Pi Halacha, right after Shemon Esrei, I don't know if girls say tachnun or not, sure. But after Shemon Esrei, one should not interrupt with anything and go right to the tachnun. What happened was, she would always make sure to interrupt it, so that his tachnun will not have the impact that it would normally have. She would know when he would daven Shemon Esrei. What happened one day? What happened? Here's the story. Now, Rosh Chodesh, we don't say tachnun, so there's nothing to worry about.
There's a few minutes late.
It's fast or slow.
It's 11:52.
Yeah, that.
I'm gonna try to finish on time, but I might go a few minutes late. Okay. Now, she did not allow her husband, Rabbi Eliezer, Gamliel's sister, did not allow Rabbi Eliezer, her husband, fall on his face, i.e. recite the tachnun supplication. One day she thought that it was Rosh Chodesh. She thought it was Rosh Chodesh. Now, those days it was possible to make a mistake. There was no calendar, and it was not based on the calendar, it was based on the witnesses who testified. If they wouldn't see the moon, then that would mean that the next day would be Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh is, the lunar cycle was 29 and a half days. Therefore, half the year is 29 days, half the year is a 30-day month. She thought, as we'll soon see, that, so what happens is like this: if a month is 29 days, it's called chaser. A month is 29 days, that means it's a missing month, missing the 30th day, and the 30th day becomes the first day of the new month. And that day is Rosh Chodesh, there's no tachnun recited. If, however, there's 30 days in a month, the full month, and the 31st day becomes the first day of the next month, and the 30th day, now this Gemara seems to be saying, it's not Rosh Chodesh, or at least we do say tachnun. That's not how we do it today, by the way. But it's from the Gemara, it seems like that whenever the month was 30 days, that 30th day belongs to the previous month. 31st day, that was Rosh Chodesh. She made a mistake, and she thought that the month was missing a day, that the 30th day will be the first day of the new month. When really it was not so, it was the 31st day. And as a result, she made a big boo-boo. As a result, she did not watch her husband. She thought, no need to watch him, it's Rosh Chodesh today, he's not going to say tachnun, I can let him go. And he did say tachnun right after Shemon Esrei, and terrible things happened, as we'll soon see. Shopkin, Rabbi Eliezer, Lamel, she did not allow Rabbi Eliezer to say tachnun. One day, Hahu Yoma, it was one day, Reish Garchahava, it was Rosh Chodesh, when the tachnun supplication is not recited. The Achlafle Beimolin Lechaser, she has confused a full month with a deficient month. And in her mind, she believed today is Rosh Chodesh and not tomorrow. Tomorrow would already be the day after. Ikadi Amri, some say that wasn't the reason. The reason why she did not watch her husband was because Asa Anya, a poor person, came and stood at the door, and she had to leave Rabbi Eliezer and attend to the poor. and give him something. In the meantime, Rabbi Eliezer already recited the Tachman supplication. After Rifta, she took bread out to the poor. After she went back, she rushed back to her husband, too late. After she found Rabbi Eliezer falling on his face in the recitation of Tachman. She said to him, "Come, you get up, you're killing my brother." Meanwhile, an announcement went forth from the house of Rabbi Greenberg that he just died. Rabbi Eliezer said to his wife, "How did you know?" She said to him, "I have received such a tradition from my house of my grandfather, from King David. All the gates of heaven are locked, except for the gates of harassing, wronging someone, especially a tzaddik like that. And therefore I knew that when you're going to express your heartfelt frustration and pain, it's going to cause damage." This is the end of the story here. That's why it's brought to tell you how deep, how effective wronging a hurting person verbally can be. But Hashem listens to the prayers of the person who screams, "This person is hurting me," immediately. All the gates of heaven are closed for davening. Your davening might not hit, unless you're davening with a minion. But a private person who davens, his private prayers there's no promise they'll even be heard, accepted. However, if a person is crying with tears because that person was hurt deeply, those prayers will hit home. Hashem will accept them and immediately, and will punish the person who did that, if that person deserves punishment, of course. Gemara concludes over here. We see the next Mishnah. On the bottom, you see the next Mishnah. So we're done from Mishnah to Mishnah. Gemara says, the rabbis taught in the Brisa, "Hama'ana es hager," one who verbally wrongs a convert transgresses 3 prohibitions. The halachaso, someone who oppresses him or her transgresses 2. Gemara challenges, why do you say only 2 and not 3? Ma'ishna ma'ane, what is the difference between someone who wrongs a convert in words, where we find 3 negative commandments, in which you say 3 prohibitions are written, namely, what are the 3? The ger lo toneh, this is in Chumash Shmos, you shall not wrong a convert. Then we have 2 more times in Vayikra, one in Kedoshim, one in Bahar. And the third one, below Tonu, which refers to a Jew, any Jew, including a ger. That being the case, we have 3 violations against the ger. The ger bechlal amitehu, and a ger or a convert is included under the term his fellow, just like any other Jew. So the Gemara says, if that's the case, lochato, someone who oppresses a convert. What do you mean oppressing a convert? Guy owes you money and you're going to his house. No, where's the money? No, you're not allowed to do that. Not allowed to do that. Any Jew. But if you do that for a convert, it's much worse. It says that you also violate 3 commandments. It says three times. Gemara concludes, let's get to the end. The Gemara concludes, you're right. There are 3 negative commandments against oppressing a convert, which would mean either to steal from him or her, or to force the person to pay back a loan, but they don't have the money yet. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to even show your face. Hi, how are you? And in other words, you owe me money, right? If a person does not have the money, you know for sure a person does not have it. It's not his fault. You're not allowed to do that. With a guy, you're allowed to, by the way. It said you're allowed to. You're not allowed to harass a non-Jew for no reason, but you want your money back. You don't have it? Borrow. Why should I suffer? But for a Jew, you're not allowed to, and for a ger, you violate 3 commandments. Then the Gemara concludes that we all were gerim. We came out of Egypt. We all considered converts for Matan Torah, and therefore don't think you're any different than a person who converted. And then the Gemara concludes, if someone had if someone hanged in one's family, don't use the word hang, because it can remind a person of a terrible tragedy that happened in his family. One should not say to his fellow, hang this fish up, or hang your jacket up. That word hang reverberates and it brings terrible memories to the person. So likewise, you got to be very careful with a ger not to hurt that person verbally, and also not to oppress the person monetarily. That's the end of the Gemara here. Normally I would have time to bring a little bit for the last class, but time is up. Well, yes.
What tractate is it from?
This is from Bava Metzia.
How do you spell this? In Hebrew or English, whatever you want.
It's spelled Hold on a second. Don't go away yet. Bava Metzia is spelled B-A-V-A, Bava, B-A-V-A. And Metzia is spelled M-E-T-S-I-A.
Thank you.
On page 59, that's the whole 59 A and B, we have the whole story. Have a wonderful Shavuos. Good to see you all last year.
You just had a great Shavuos.
What?
You just had a great Shavuos.
Yeah. It's still Shavuos now, by the way. It's a 7-day holiday.
Oh.
You know that, huh? You can still make up.